hello everyone and welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show. We begin where we left off last time. Here are the terraces at Pamukkale in Turkey. And of course, as you can see, this is all one huge, massive hill of beautiful minerals.
Beautiful minerals?
Minerals.
You think it's beautiful minerals? Is that? I hate to
or
use-
travertines, if that's what you want to
Well, that's all right,
to.
but I just think it's a better description would not be saying minerals. It would be just saying.
Oh, minerals are pretty. Yeah. Have you ever seen the big rocks and things like that of minerals that, a lot of people have them and display them.
I don't know about that. I just take them.
Okay.
I ingest them.
Ingest them.
I
Okay.
ingest them.
Well, you could eat here forever then, couldn't you? Anyway, the water literally was turned off.
Now watch us getting down here. Excuse me. Let me interrupt a minute.
You're gonna watch Carol
we
get
got
down
down
there, right?
first. There's Tina and myself, and there's Carol, and there's Monsignor in back of us. And that was a really big drop because you didn't want to break your neck coming down. First, Monsignor
I
said
hope
no,
not.
but look at when he saw us go, he said, "Man, I'm not gonna miss anything." So there he is.
And we're all barefooted, as you can see, because
We had to.
You have to do that there, yeah. Which is a very good idea, and because there are probably millions of tourists that come here. Anyway, I was going to say, the water was turned off. They divert the water sometimes, but the water usually cascades down the cliff side here, as you can see. Like Betty said on last week's show, it looks like snow, and it really does. And, we hit this at a really great time because the sun was just starting to set, and so we were getting some really, I think, some beautiful
you did a
colors
great
there.
job.
Look at this, but see all the pools way out there? I mean, this thing went on and on and on. And now this is from the mineral bath from the Roman days.
And if they hadn't been turned off, that would have been all full. You could actually swim, wear a suit, and go into those pools there. But the fact the water wasn't turned on, so we didn't have that opportunity.
And they're supposed to be very therapeutic and heal most anything you have, I guess. As they always say when you go to a mineral bath, this is good for this, that, and everything, right?
Everything that ails you, yeah.
And now we can see this is going off toward the valley, which we had been on in that area in earlier shows. But this is really quite something. And of course, as you drive up to it, it's magnificent, just magnificent.
Yeah, you can't believe it. You know what? Sometimes I said it looked like snow the last time. Now, sometimes to me it looks like frosting on a cake.
Big cake,
yeah,
right?
One thing to another. But there's certain areas where it's all kind of dripping, and I guess that's the way I put frosting.
Well, they
on.
say you've got stalactites and stalagmites there too.
You know the
so.
difference?
Yeah, one hangs from the top and then the other one's from the bottom and grows up.
You know how I remembered that?
How do you
when
remember?
I taught school, tight is the one up on top because it has
tight?
to hang on there tight or it would fall down.
Okay.
So we use that as a little clue.
Very good. Okay. Well, now right across the street from here, of course, are the old Roman ruins, and this is quite a large area, as we're going to find out in today's program. And if you look right up here to our left, right about the middle of the screen, that's where the martyrdom of Saint Philip took place.
Yes, yes.
And this, of course, was during the times of the Romans. Anyway, there's also a huge cemetery here.
Ooh,
Beautiful,
that's
huh?
gorgeous, Marv.
Yeah, it looks like a bird in flight. Well, we're going to listen now to our guide, Mamet, as he explains some of this area and some of the history of the Romans.
And so far, they have uncovered 1,200 of these graves. 1,200, quite a lot. And of this 1,200, slightly more than 300 of them have some inscriptions, epitaphs on the walls, like just behind you. Most of them are in Greek, but few in Hebrew. As I said to you yesterday in Laodicea about the Jewish element in those two towns, who are the first converts, and serving the Christian faith during that time. So apparently they wanted their epitaphs to be written in Hebrew, some down there, toward those pine trees, etc. There are a few, especially when the Jewish come, of course, they go look around for them. Also, this graveyard had caretakers, because this graveyard is the place to bury the rich, the wealthy. To start with, you have the springs over here. So not everybody can afford to come all the way down here and get this treatment. And they come with the hope of recovery. They recover, fine, they go back. But if they don't, they die. And then the bodies are not sent back. They always make a testimony, a wish to be buried over here. So if they see their conditions are getting worse and worse, they even buy the line or some grave already ready. This is my grave. Huh? I die, you bury me here. This is the idea. For that reason, they have some of these epitaphs, most of which are carved after the death and after the burial. But maybe one or two of them were even prepared earlier. This is one thing. We have these graves about going back to 4th and 5th centuries BC, all the way up to early Byzantine period, 4th century AD or so. So it covers a huge area. And there are two of the necropoli, the graveyards over here. One of which is over here, the other one behind the theater. I'm not going to walk all the way up to the theater because you will see better and larger ones, especially in Ephesus and all that. So behind that theater, toward the mountains area, there is another graveyard for the heroes of the town who fought, for the town against the enemy. When they got killed, of course, they became martyrs like that. So they were buried at a separate place, at a separate graveyard. Has got nothing to do with this one. This is all related to those patients coming for therapeutical treatment over here and dying over here. For that reason, this land was expensive. So they had to pay like 150 denarii, a couple of $1,000 a year to the caretakers for the maintenance of the graves, of flowers, they grow around the graveyard and all that.
And from the graveyard, we're going to walk on down into the major part of the city, as we can see. And this was really large, a big area. I was really surprised. But before we do that, some people had a little extra ride. I mean, they didn't walk all the way down there, as we'll see in a moment. But this is a massive area. I was impressed.
There were a lot of people living there.
There were a lot
that
of
had to
people.
be buried. Okay.
And those that came to the spring and didn't get well
That's
and
right.
died there. See, I told you, not everybody walked. Helga Road.
She loved that camel. I bet this was the 4th camel at Helga Road. She just loved it. When she's got a new place now, we'll put a camel in her backyard.
And she's going to get a new place big enough so she can have a camel?
She's
Good
got
for her.
She's got a yard.
Well, I guess that's all you need. But these ruins, we're going to find out a little bit more about, because these do go on, and we're only just going to see a small portion of them, however, on today's program, because this would take up many hours. But let's listen again to Mehmet.
Originally, it was used as a Roman bath to start with. So it was a Roman bath. There are two large ones over here, one of which is used now for the storage of the discoveries and partly museum, and the other one is this one you see over here. Interesting thing, when the name of the city was changed to Stavropolis, the city of the cross, in the 5th century by the Christians, then this building was converted into a church, because although it tends to be sort of in the now south-north direction, at least it's partly sort of facing a little bit, of course, toward east, as you see the sun rises from there, depending on the season, to the left or to the right. So the other side of the building, they tore down, they broke it, and they added an apse. So apse being on that side, and the entrance, like within an atrium, then shifting the columns a little bit to the sides, they created a nave in the center, and some of the rooms that light just behind this wall, as well as that arch you see over there, are converted into aisles. So nave, aisle, that classical basilica plan concept, with the apse on that side and entrance from here. So at least it served the needs of the Christians of that time, and used for a while as a church, until, of course, it was tumbled down by earthquakes again, and the Arab raids starting in 7th century AD, with the idea intentional conquest of Constantinople and sort of destroying the capital city of the Christian faith, as it was Constantinople during Byzantine period.
Well, Betty, let me ask you, were you impressed with this area?
Oh, was I impressed? Oh, yes. Unbelievable.
It really is.
And I've been lots and lots of places, but this is probably one of the most outstanding places that I've been. I look at the roadway, and of course there's so much erosion that's taken place. Undoubtedly that was an even road at one time.
Well, but some of that, there were ruts there, I think, though, for the chariots to go through too, weren't there?
Well, there were some, but I'm talking about the unevenness of it.
Oh,
and
I
I
see,
think
yeah.
that's, well, I know it was from the earthquake.
That's what I was going to say. It may have happened
and
because of a lot of
they had gigantic earthquakes.
Oh, they did, and they happened, many times, as we'll learn.
Earthquake. There was a lot of earth debris piled over there, So they sort of remove it slowly, like brushwork, needlework, to make sure that nothing is broken or lost or destroyed at that time. You cannot just move the crane over there, you know, throw it away like that. Of course, it takes time in that respect. So they found also some reliefs, sculpture works, you know, broken to pieces, which were decorating the facade of the stage building. Now, sacred city. Here I mean sacred. Also the name of the legend, the wife, the name of the wife of the legendary founder of Pergamon kingdom, as they took over here from the Seleucids in the 2nd century BC. Therefore, a dedication to her, to the wife. Starting from about over here, with the triumphal arch flanked by 2 round towers, still in a good state of preservation from the 1st century BC. BC. It's still the pagan world, of course, and it was dedicated to the Roman emperor of those times. And starting from here, you see the part of the original pavement of the main street, continuing all the way. There's a late gate from Roman times on the other side, and the road continues. Of course, after that gate, it is not quite destroyed, but it's covered by earth, which is used like a car park for the tour buses and all that. So you continue all the way, passing by the Roman baths, which we will go by bus. I will point that one out to you. And remember where we parked the car yesterday? And you know, by the travertines and all that, it continues in that direction all the way to the southern gate. So it's like, you know, 1.5 miles or slightly more, very close to 2 miles of length we are talking about. Another thing which I have to bring to your attention, because we are coming from Antalya and that area, if you were coming from Ephesus, you would understand this better, because then you would have seen Ephesus. When we go to Ephesus tomorrow, and even today in Sardis partly, you're going to see a lot of marble. But marble. You know, marble pillars, marble streets covered, even the pavement is made by marble blocks and all that. But unfortunately here you don't see too much of it. The reason is obvious. You have the mountain behind you, as well as around here. So it's very easy for them, and doesn't cost much to quarry the mountain, just to give the proper shape. If they want to erect a piece of column over here, or just blocks, you know, laying on the floor to make a street, or finely cut masonry to make the shops, of course, along this main street. Because the marble is from that mountain over there, the nearest one. You see the mountain with the hat over the bus in the distance. That's Baba mountain. And even if you cut short, you know, like as the bird flies, they say, about 80 kilometers, 50 miles. So it is too far away and too costly. So they did not use marble extensively. You saw this in the graveyard, because they were also made of stones and blocks from the mountain. So is the main street, unless they had some very certain buildings, and then, you know, as still being costly, they managed to bring some marble from Aphrodisias, and it was erected over here. 1 or 2 pillars like that, for instance, used to decorate the stage building of the theater toward the sun over there, below the sun.
Now we've come to the very beginning of where these waters start, where the spring starts. This water is supposed to be known for giving you all sorts of special powers.
Yeah, you want to name them? Not right now.
No, I don't think so.
We'll do that later.
But anyway, this was thought to be, because this came from a cave where there was a lot of sulfur and a lot of fumes, and this was thought to be the entrance into Hades at this particular place.
Gate of hell.
Yeah. And although here the water was going to give you, you know, wonderful properties, but look how clear it is. And this is, we're located right on the grounds, right behind a hotel. But Betty, what is so fascinating about this is, look, these people are swimming, and they were playing classical music there. I wish we had all of that for you, but believe me, it was absolutely beautiful. And what you could see were the ruins in the water, those columns and artifacts that were there in this clear mineral water. Absolutely beautiful.
Fallen over from the earthquake. One of the many earthquakes. But I think this story of hell is so funny.
It is.
This you can drink because from here the water flows down. Nobody is allowed to swim up this way. The water goes down the course, as you can see. So you can have a drink over here, take your turns, then
Okay, so that wasn't classical music. They were playing it though earlier.
Well, that
But
was all right. It was
beautiful.
pretty.
Oh, it was nice. Now we stayed at a hotel that wasn't too terribly far from here, about 2 or 3 miles, and so we got a chance to sample those waters ourselves that prior evening. We're just about ready now to leave Pamukkale, but if you look up here, this is still more of the area, and right over to the right-hand side, you're just going to see a little bit of it is one of the amphitheaters. But see, this was all populated
Yeah.
during that time, and now, of course, this is all ruins. They're going to be forever reconstructing this, and it's great. I mean, that's going to give the anthropologists and students years and years
Sure.
of work to do here.
Every time you kick up a piece of dirt, you can find something underneath it that might have
Right.
significance.
And we're going to head now to another city, and here we are in Philadelphia. And Philadelphia, St. John's Church, as you can see here. And Betty, I was really surprised because, you know, we've always read about the letters that, you know, that St. Paul wrote to the church in Philadelphia. I really expected to see so much here, and this was a very small little area. This was just where the church was.
Very sad.
Yeah.
To me, it was very, very sad when I think of all of the effort, all of the time, all of the dedication that was put into this church, into the preaching. But you know, this church here in Philadelphia is written about in the book of Revelation. It's one of the churches it's written about. And these people were good people. They lived according to the rules. So they were given much credit for being a good living congregation.
Do we know how many times St. Paul actually visited here?
No, I don't think anybody would know that. They would just know by letters that he wrote, and
Yeah.
I don't think they kept a diary of how long he was there. But it wasn't just St. Paul. There were other of the apostles and disciples that went out preaching the good word or the good news, and that's all that's left.
Yeah, it's not.
I hate it.
Well, it was so surprising because it's just about probably not even a half an acre, I think, something like this. But you can see how massive this church must have
Yes,
been.
it was
I mean,
huge.
you can see. We've just looked at some of the areas where the archways would have been, and which of course have come down since then. And here there are still more artifacts.
There's your
that we
earthquake
can see.
again.
Yeah, probably so.
All
yeah.
done with the earthquake.
You know, that's it. I didn't realize that part of the country had so many. Had
Greece
so many
is also
earthquakes.
full of earthquakes. So much destruction. The Lord is mighty powerful.
Yeah, very, very, very much so. You're not going to doubt that at all. But this was still fascinating, even though it wasn't so large. There is still also, they found some sarcophagus here too. So there must have been some of the local people perhaps buried in the church or around the church, evidently.
They have a lot of work yet to do on this. Well, they have work to do everywhere, and it all depends on money.
Right.
I think that the ambition is there, the desire to do it, but it all takes money.
Well, you notice on some of the signs that we had just left from Pamukkale that it was the Italians that were in there, that they were the ones that were doing a lot of the excavations. And I would imagine that probably there are teams from other countries that are probably over there, every summer, probably naturally.
Doing restoration,
yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Didn't we see a sign that said that Julia Gallo, the Gallo wine people here in Madeira, had donated money for some of the restoration?
Yeah.
I really meant to write them a little note and tell
Say
them
thank
we
you.
appreciate it. Yeah, yeah.
No, that's nice. So it has to be a worldwide effort because this has to be a very expensive thing to do.
Time
the excavation.
consuming.
Yes, very much.
I would never have the patience.
I would probably for about a day and a half, unless you found something very, very exciting
Yeah.
that you.
But I mean, what's
dug
a
up
rock?
yourself.
I mean, you have to have such a
Well, I'm
background
not talking about
for
rocks.
this.
I mean, maybe
a piece
little
of gold or
gold coin, right?
or earrings or some jewelry would be wonderfully
Sure.
exciting. But
Look
no.
at this. Look how big this
Yeah.
was, Betty. I mean, you
Think
can
of-
see Ben, and Ben's a pretty tall guy, but he's dwarfed
Dwarfed
by this. And,
I'm-
and look how this arch must have gone over and touched the other side. Right
I'm
there.
always amazed, Marvin, at the architecture that we see and the engineermanship. What do you call it?
Engineering.
You don't
Yeah.
call it that, but I know.
The craftsmanship
But
of the
how
engineers.
they put those blocks together. I mean, and they didn't use mortar. They just put
I
them
know how they
together
did it.
and
I
they
know
fit.
how they did it.
How'd they do it?
Very carefully.
Oh, come on.
But you see, they're still digging down here
Yes.
too, and so I'm sure that they're going to find a lot more as they continue to the digs. Now here's another part of another sarcophagus.
Just think how
as we say.
beautiful all of that must have been in its prime. Hmm?
Well, that's it. That's it. Even though some of that area, as he stated earlier, didn't have marble. Now, I don't know if this area did or not, but you know, you didn't need that because you can see the carvings that were there on some of the reliefs, which of course are all gone now, and over the centuries have I'm sure that people have taken and maybe used for building materials of their own homes, you know, and that's happened all over the world too. I mean, great things like this, and you have people that need building materials. I mean, they have to survive, you know.
Let's take care of the living.
Right. Well, that was Philadelphia. Now, something I wanted to show our farmers here in the valley, especially if you're into grapes or raisins. We're going by a field right now, and we went for quite a ways. We're in the grape growing district here, but the stakes, the grape stakes, were made not out of grape stakes, or as we are used to seeing them here, but they were cement. And how they did not dry the raisins between the rows. See these those little what do you
Houses?
call them? Well, there's the little houses. They're there for a reason. But next to the little houses, just a little cement slab, and that's where they took the grapes and they dried them on the slab. Yeah. Now the houses are for the people. They come out from the village and they work and they'll stay overnight or maybe for a couple of days and then go back to the village. So those are just little overnight houses that they have there. It's sort of what like the Europeans would call their garden houses, I suspect. But we went for miles and miles, and you can see.
There's one right there.
Yeah. You can see that there, and I thought that was really quite interesting. And evidently, this is the big grape and wine growing area. 50,666 lira for gasoline, as you can see here, normal or super or whatever. Now we're going to go to a very exciting area, and we're going to listen to Mehmet as he explains this. This is really beautiful.
So all the fields you see over here are part of Sardis, to the right and to the left of this road, going up to the citadel. A few more remains, you know, over the hill there, some graves and all that. This is the house of bronzes I told you about. Look, they are still working over here. A lot of things, and it's getting deeper and deeper down there. Look at the synagogue on your right now. Here, this the restored part of it with the apse. And we start from here now.
Well, I hope I didn't make everybody seasick with the shooting back and forth across the road, but I didn't know what I was going to see. But on this show and on next week's show, we'll see more of Sardis here too, because there's really quite a bit to see. And unfortunately, the highway went right on through it. Betty, can you imagine that? This was a major city for 1,500 years?
Yeah.
And it was a settlement there for 3,000 years.
Does it make you wonder sometimes what might happen to us, our country, in 1,500 years?
Well, the way we go, we tear everything down. I mean, we can't keep anything up for 100 years, you know.
No, I know.
We have to keep tearing it down and build something new. So.
But we sort of think we're invincible too, you know.
That's true. Well, at least something that survived here is the old latrine.
Isn't that a kick? And you know, that was very modern, even from our standpoint, because they had running water there,
Right.
so that it was
Carried all the waste
sanitary.
away. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Well, and as we're going to see when we get down to Ephesus too, they also will have that the open latrine or whatever it is. It was a little better condition than this one was.
It was marble too.
No,
I
it
like
could have
that.
been on a cold morning. It could have been a little cold, right?
Well, it was covered.
But this is where, and they probably did have heat in there too. But that's where the people used to congregate.
Have their meetings.
Right? Yeah, in the
city
John.
council. Very appropriate.
Some of the subjects I would imagine.
Very
yes,
appropriate.
It might have been. Now here there are little shop areas on the side, as we can see here, and look, we can see also some of the crosses
yes.
that were here. But there's a lot of area to see here, and there's more to find out about. So let's listen to Mehmet as he explains a little bit more about Sardis.
Gigantic complex, as you can easily see. In the foreground, some parts are not yet excavated, uncovered. Therefore, you only see part of it. This section on the western side is the bath complex. You can see with a huge pool over here. A Roman bath is usually composed of a couple of rooms. One of the entrances on that side, one side entrance apart from the one we took, and then another one over there. So you come into an area where you change your clothes, a changing room. So there are some sort of rooms around that hall, bigger than the niches you see over here. Then from there you go into 3 different rooms: frigidarium, tepidarium, caldarium, sudatorium, etc. Frigidarium is the room, the cold room, so to speak. So that's the pool. This is part of the cold room, frigidarium, as they call it in Latin during that time. And depending on the hall, the swimming pool, etc., like in this case, niches, where sculptural works, statues were placed inside for decorative elements. Sometimes you have like river god, Pactolus or Castros, etc., depicted in the form of a statue. Sometimes lions, of course, decorate such halls. And the original, steps going down into the pool. It's not done late afterwards. Then, away from this, just you have a second room, a group of rooms, depending on the size, which is called tepidarium, containing the lukewarm water. This is a place, a transition between the cold room and the steam room, the hot room, so that you can sort of relax a while, have your massage and everything like that, or some physical training on your own. Finally, you go into the hot room, the caldarium, where there's a hypocaust, a place like that, much bigger than that one. You have the wood, firewood over there, you burn the wood. Of course, in the past, no coal or no crude oil or gasoline or anything like that. So it's all the forest, the wood, from the forest. And then there are pipes underneath the floor, on the walls, for the circulation of steam and hot water to keep that room as hot as possible. The floor as well as the walls are covered by marble slabs, because marble can sort of retain the temperature, almost constant. And it is, of course, even if you have a lot of vapor or steam inside, it won't affect the wall at all. So you will see this a lot. Therefore, tomorrow in Ephesus, you're going to see something better than this, in fact. Except this pool is very big. That's beside the point. But as a whole bath complex, there is a very fine one over there, with all marble slabs, etc., on the floor and here and there on the wall still. From here, you go into the gymnasium or palestra, a physical training center. It's huge. As you can see, one line of columns, peristyle, one line of columns go around this courtyard. And it is this western section of the courtyard which seems to be separated from the rest of that huge area. The reason is that this is beautifully carved and beautifully restored. Looking at the pillars, you can see some of the original pieces.
And we will see more of those on our next episode of the Adventures Travel Club television show. However, if you're interested in any of the trips that we do have coming up, give Betty a call at 488-7443. And we will see you next time.